I've been sort of kind of surprised by the lack of debate also on the word genocide. Like I've heard the arguments for the folks who deem it a genocide, and I'm well aware of those. And I know there are tons of people who disagree with that term and find it insulting. But I've searched high and low for what their arguments are for why this is not genocide. So I wonder if you could, kind of, I know it's a big question, but kind of briefly explain why you think genocide is an applicable term here, and what sort of pushback, if any, have you gotten in terms of arguments from others who think it's not a genocide? What is their viewpoint for folks who maybe haven't heard either side of this argument?
Well, I know the counter arguments, and I'll go into them briefly in a second. But genocide is defined by the UN and by the international courts in a particular way that makes it clear that what is happening in Gaza is genocide. Even ethnic cleansing at the level, which is a related term, at the level it's happening in Gaza is considered genocide. I think the root of the problem is genocide was coined, not even to talk about it was coined by a Jewish man, I forget his name, but it was in reference to, I think, the Armenian genocide. And later it became applied to the Holocaust, the Shoah, and in ways that have been mobilized by Israel, especially politically, to sort of make it the personal burden of Jewish people. But of course, genocides happen throughout human history, and it's not restricted to Jews. And in fact, the Holocaust was aimed at many different people. It was aimed at the Romani people, who died at a higher percentage than even Jews died. And it was aimed eventually at the Slavic people. Millions of Slavs were killed by the Germans, and the eventual goal was to kill all the Slavic people, all the Russians, all the Poles, all the Slovenians, you can go on and on. There's a lot of different Slavic nation states. And that was the goal, as well as killing all the black people and all Asian people and so on. That was the true vision of the Nazi Holocaust. Jews just happened to be in a particular situation historically and politically and emotionally for the far right in Germany. And so they were killed by the millions. It's certainly true, right? So genocide is the attempt to eradicate a nation, not a state. A nation and state are somewhat different. A nation of people, a culture. In fact, cultural genocide can be seen as genocide too. You don't have to kill all the people. You just have to kill their culture. This is what Spain tried to do in 1492 with the Jewish people in Spain, and many became conversos, and they fled first to Portugal and Thessalonica, and blah, blah, blah. So this is an old process in human culture. And in fact, all aggressive sort of cultures have tried to commit genocide on their fellows, including, for example, the Aztecs. I mean, it's not like only white people commit genocide. This is a fallacy that the uneducated left falls into all the time, not thinking historically. White colonialism, white forms of genocide, as happened to Native Americans in the Americas, are certainly it's very prevalent now, and it might be the dominant evil if you want to go down that road. But it's only an accident that this is where we are in history. In the past, other people have committed equally horrific actions. I argue in postmodern war that one reason we have this system of postmodern war, which precludes using all of the weapons that are possible, which was the trajectory of modern war, total war, from Machiavelli until 1945 with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, is caused in part by the fact that genocide is no longer allowed. But seeing what's happening in Gaza, I might have been wrong about that. Seems the world is going to allow genocide, at least in Gaza, against the Palestinians. So this is an old argument, which is generally taken up by people without much historical background. But I think the key element that confuses so many people is genocide is not just about trying to eradicate the Jewish people. This is a long-standing tradition in the West, and in its most virulent forms, it means killing all the Jews. In the form most popular in the far right in America, it means killing all but 40,000 Jews. You must keep 40,000 Jews alive so that they will convert to support Jesus in the end. And in fact, when I was in Israel for these visits, only 2 times I've been there, I asked one of these more right-wing Israeli generals, well, how did he feel about being allied with these far right-wing people in the United States who wanted Israel to thrive for a short period and then to be destroyed in Armageddon, but 40,000 to be saved so that, in fact, the Messiah can come and the rapture can happen, and so on and so forth. This is another one of these sacred beliefs that's driving so much of what's happening in the world today. And he just said, well, we're using them. He just felt that, and in fact, they have been using them. And now they're using them all the way to try to do genocide in Gaza and the West Bank. What's happening in Gaza now is being applied to the West Bank. The increase in killings, dispossessions, and so on. A whole Palestinian village was just destroyed by Israel yesterday. This is ongoing. It isn't just Gaza. And I speak of genocide because the goal of these people is to destroy the idea of Palestine, that it even existed as a real culture, as a separate way of being in the world, as a culture of mainly Arabs, but other people, Druze, mainly Muslims, but both Sunni and Shia, but also many Christians. Many who've had to immigrate, but there's still many Christian Palestinians. So it's a complex, multicultural, ethnic sort of defined culture that's been in that part of the world for thousands of years. And at times it even included, and in fact, up until Israel was established, Jews were seen as an integral part of the Palestinian community. Not a majority, but there were many Jews who lived through all the dispossessions, through all the exiles, who stayed there or who returned later. After the Babylonian exile, of course, a lot returned, but actually after the other dispossessions, Jews have been returning to that part of the world, and many have lived there forever. So there was a Palestine, and that's what's being eradicated through lies about history and through actually murdering tens of thousands of people, a majority of them women and children and old men. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. So I hope that helped sort it out a little. The people make this argument. When you dig down, you will always see that it's a Jewish exceptionalist argument. Only Jews can be the victims of the Holocaust. This is why right-wing Jews don't want to consider Armenia, what the Turks did in Armenia, a Holocaust. This is why they don't like people talking about the dispossession of most of the tribes of California, especially by the 49ers. My ancestors, who were Spanish and Catalan explorers, they did many evil things to the native California people, but they did not try to eradicate them. They tried to convert them and marry them. And in fact, a few of my ancestors became part of that process. But when the 49ers came, they hunted California natives like animals and killed thousands of them. And that is what genocide is. But many Jewish apologists, Israeli apologists, would like to say that, no, that wasn't genocide. Genocide only happens to Jews, and it's only done by Nazis and anyone who tries to fight back against the settler colonialism, which is the project of Israel now, certainly from the beginning, that they are, in fact, anti-Semites, but it's just not true.
Hey Detoxers! Thanks for tuning in. You can find Disinfo Detox on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Every click helps grow the community and keeps those tech overlords happy. Detox complete.